Kentucky, keep on shining. Listen to that line. Soft, revolving, like a slow dance in a wooden hall. Now imagine the exact same words snapped into a staccato 2-beat, and the room turns electric. One tempo flip, one meter change, and the whole song becomes a different kind of animal.
Welcome back to Ranch Beat, where every country song has a story, and we tell it. I'm James, and today we take a deep, instrument-by-instrument look at Blue Moon of Kentucky, written and first recorded by Bill Monroe in 1946 as a 3/4 waltz, and famously flipped into a 2/4 rockabilly stomp by Elvis Presley with Scotty Moore and Bill Black in 1954. By the end of this episode, you'll hear how meter doesn't just move your feet, it rewrites meaning.
And I'm Sam. Quick roadmap. We'll give you the essentials up front, then trace Monroe's Kentucky roots, break down the lyrics and the meter, verify who did what in the studio, and walk through a guided listening exercise you can do without any clips. If you're a musician or a curious listener, you can actually practice this while you drive or make coffee. No audio required.
Fast facts. Blue Moon of Kentucky, Bill Monroe, 1946. Originally a mandolin-led 3/4 waltz tied to Southern dance traditions. Notable cover, Elvis Presley with Scotty Moore and Bill Black, 1954, reworked as a 2-beat that helped push it into early rock and roll circles. Today's lesson, how a meter flip changes phrasing, emphasis, and the emotional weight of key lyrics.
Let's set the scene. Bill Monroe was working the hollers and dance halls of Kentucky long before bluegrass was a label. His band, the Bluegrass Boys, mixed fiddle, guitar, bass, and Monroe's mandolin into a sound that borrowed from old-time fiddling, gospel, and the waltz tradition that people still dance to in rural halls. In that world, the waltz, 3/4 time, creates a circular motion. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's social, it's graceful, it keeps you moving in a couple steps.
Here's why that matters. When Monroe sings Blue Moon of Kentucky, keep on shining, in 3/4, the melody arcs. There's a pullback on the downbeat and a longing in the pull between beats. That phrasing matches the lyric's wistfulness. This isn't just clever writing, it's personal. The meter lets the words breathe. Now, when you cut that same phrase into 2/4, the syllables land differently. They snap, they assert, and suddenly the line reads less like a plea and more like a call to movement.
Let's walk through 3 lyrical moments. 1, the title line, Blue Moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. In 3/4, it feels like a gentle petition. In 2/4, it almost becomes a hook you clap along to. 2, the I saw you standing there lines. In waltz time, there's room for loneliness to bloom between beats. Flip the meter, and the line becomes forward, less introspective. 3, any closing or repeating phrases. The emphasis shift can move the emotional center of the song from longing to swagger. Listen to where the stress falls. That's the secret.
Now, a bit on credits and who did what, because accuracy matters. Bill Monroe is credited as the songwriter. His 1946 label release and later reissues list him as the writer and performer. Elvis, Scotty Moore, and Bill Black recorded their version in 1954. Their arrangement and the producers behind that session deserve credit for the reinterpretation. During prep for this episode, we flagged liner notes, ASCAP BMI entries, and archival interviews as primary sources to verify dates and publishing. If anything's unclear, we'll call that out in the show notes.
On session players, Monroe's early Bluegrass Boys lineups shifted a lot, and the 1946 recordings featured the mandolin forward, with fiddle and guitar providing support. Exact session player names vary across releases and reissues, so the right move is to check original liner notes and reputable archives. For Elvis's 1954 take, Scotty Moore's electric guitar and Bill Black's slapped bass are central to that 2-beat feel. Those instrumental decisions are what recast the song from dancehall waltz to barroom rockabilly stomp.
So let's decode the production choices. In Monroe's waltz, mandolin chops on the downbeats, a lilting vocal placement that lets phrases droop on the second beat, and a tempo that invites dancers into a circle. In the Elvis recording, the bass is more percussive, that slap bass on 1 and 2 and. The electric guitar accents the backbeat, and the drums and rhythm push the tempo, converting the graceful lilt into urgency. That meter flip, from 3 pulses to 2, is what makes listeners reclassify the song's genre.
Here's a simple way to hear it without any instruments. Tap your foot to a 1-2-3, 1-2-3 pulse. That's the waltz. Now change to 1 and 2 end, 1 and 2 end, and feel the push. The first keeps phrases open. The second shortens space between words, shifting where a singer can hang a syllable. Arrangement choices, like where the mandolin chops sit versus where the guitar hits, exploit that space. Small moves, big outcomes.
A quick, respectful note on drama. Some narratives paint Elvis's flipping of country songs as theft. That oversimplifies. Musicians have always borrowed and reshaped material. That's the nature of folk and roots traditions. What matters is how we describe it. We're talking about musical transformation and cultural transmission. Where possible, I prefer to cite documented reactions. Some accounts show Monroe surprised, others show gradual acceptance. We'll stay neutral and stick to sourced quotes in the show notes so listeners can see the records themselves.
And a fun fact, the flip from waltz to two-beat wasn't unique to this song. In the early 50s, bands were experimenting with time signatures and backbeat emphasis as country, blues, and rhythm and blues players intersected in studios and on stages. Blue Moon of Kentucky is a neat, compact example that lets us study the mechanics of that change in a single song.
Music notes, quick and simple. Instruments to listen for. Mandolin, that high percussive chop in the waltz. Fiddle, melodic sweeps and fills. Upright acoustic bass, a rounder low end in the Monroe recordings. Electric guitar, in the Elvis take, offering drive and snappy accents. And slap bass, that percussive thump that pushes a two-beat. When you listen, pick one instrument to follow. It reveals how the arrangement hands the listener cues about where to feel the beat.
All right, hands-on moment. Here's a guided listening exercise you can do without any clips. Find a quiet spot. First, count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 slowly and hum a short melody on the one of each group. Let your shoulders sway with that circular motion. Hold that for a minute. Now imagine the same melody, but count wand and two and, wand and two and clap on the and after each beat, so the pulse feels more forward. Notice what words or syllables fall differently in your head. That's the meter flip working on phrasing.
If you're driving or can't stop, do it 2 count in your head and listen to the cadence of your own speech. Try speaking the line, "Blue Moon of Kentucky, keep on shining," in both counts, and notice how the emphasis moves. Next time you hear a cover, try that quick mental trick. It reveals whether the performer made a subtle or radical change.
Producer note for fellow podcasters. If you plan to include original recordings, request clip clearances early. Our fallback is the narrated demonstration we just did. It works fully without licensed audio and keeps the lesson intact. We'll note any unresolved credit questions in show notes and link primary sources like ASCAP BMI entries and liner notes for listeners who want to dig deeper.
Before we wrap, here's the takeaway I want to leave you with. Meter is a storytelling device. It tells you not just when to dance, but how to feel the singer's words. Next time you hear a familiar tune in a new groove, don't tune it out. Listen for where the stress lands. That one listening habit will change how you hear covers and classics.
And if you're curious about the archival side, check the show notes for source links. You'll find suggested reads, the publications we checked, and a short bibliography so you can follow up on personnel and session dates yourself.
All right, that's our deep dive on Blue Moon of Kentucky and the tiny tempo change that rewrote its life. If you've enjoyed this, and I hope you have, do us a favor. Subscribe to Ranch Beak, leave a rating if you're on Apple Podcasts, and tell us what song we should unpack next. Suggest any country song from anywhere except Thailand. We love international picks.
And drop a comment with a cover version you love, or one that surprised you. We read every suggestion, and sometimes they spark whole episode ideas. Thanks for listening.
Until next time, Ranch Beat. Every country song has a story, and we tell it.